few moments ago, President Obama left Engine 54, Ladder 4, after meeting with firefighters. He made some short comments inside the firehouse. They weren't broadcast live. They were put on tape. We've just got them the tape, and we're going to play that for you now.
But to the commissioner, to Mayor Giuliani, who obviously performed heroic acts almost 10 years ago, but most of all to all of you, I wanted to just come up here to thank you. This is a symbolic site of the extraordinary sacrifice that was made on that terrible day almost 10 years ago. Obviously, we can't bring back the friends that were lost. And I know that each and every one of you not only grieve for them, but have also over the last 10 years dealt with their family, their children, trying to give them comfort, trying to give them support. Well, what happened on Sunday, because of the courage of our military and the outstanding work of our intelligence, sent a message around the world, but also sent a message here back home that when we say we will never forget, we mean what we say. And our commitment to making sure that justice was done is something that transcended politics, transcended party. It didn't matter which administration was in, it didn't matter who was in charge. We were going to make sure that the perpetrators of that horrible act, that they receive justice. So, you know, it's some comfort, I hope, to all of you to know that when those guys took those extraordinary risks going into Pakistan, that they were doing it in part because of the sacrifices that were made in this state. They were doing it in the name of your brothers that were lost. And finally, let me just say that although 9/11 obviously was a high watermark of courage for the New York Fire Department and a symbol of the sacrifice, you guys are making sacrifices every single day. It doesn't get as much notoriety, it doesn't get as much attention, but every time you run into a burning building, every time that you are saving lives, you're making a difference, and that's part of what makes this city great, and that's part of what makes this country great. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the American people for the sacrifices that you make every single day. And I just want to let you know that you're always going to have a president and an administration who's got your back the way you've gotten the backs of the people of New York over these last many years. So God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And with that, I'm going to try some of that food. All right? Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Firefighters are speaking right now outside the firehouse. Let's listen in.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Hold on. All right, so
you have a minute heads up? Okay.
the president was nice enough to come to our firehouse today, Engine 54, Ladder 4, Battalion 9, to share lunch with the firefighters. It was a wonderful gesture based on the news that we all got Sunday night about Osama bin Laden's death. I think the president connected well with the firefighters. He gave a little congratulations and thank you to the firefighters for what the firefighters and first responders did on September 11th and what the firefighters and first responders continue to do. He seemed generally very appreciative of what all the first responders do, and he really wanted to convey that message to the first responder community. After we had a little greeting with the president, the 15 firefighters from the firehouse sat down and had lunch with President Obama. It was a wonderful lunch. It was a very informal lunch. The president was very much at ease, but still wanted everybody to know, again, how much he appreciated all the work that the first responders and firefighters do for him. So there was a little bantering back and forth. We had a very light, enjoyable conversation. At the same time, we're still remembering everything that's going on, all the sacrifices that the military is making for us now, all the sacrifices that the families made on September 11th and continue to make in Afghanistan and Iraq. So with all that in mind, we had a great conversation, a little bit of Mets, a little bit of Yankees, a little bit of White Sox, a little bit of Cubs, and we think the president generally enjoyed his visit to the firehouse. Again, we're extremely appreciative that he was able to join us today for lunch.
Chief, how meaningful is it for you, sir? How meaningful was this visit when he saw that shrine?
I think this firehouse symbolizes the sacrifices that were made by the firefighters and first responders in New York City. I think the world knows that to some degree. So for him to come here and to see the faces of the firefighters that were killed on September 11th and to see the shrine that was erected in their honor really meant something to him. I could see that the president was clearly touched by the sacrifices and by the stories that the firefighters told him.
Chief, during the lunch, how were the manners? Were you ever worried about how they behaved in such a formal setting?
I think the president put everybody at ease as soon as he walked in the door. He was a wonderful guest. The folks that were with him were wonderful. Mayor Giuliani came with him. Obviously, we have a relationship with Mayor Giuliani, so that was a nice icebreaker as well. And the firefighters were complete ease with the president. He put everybody at ease right away.
Any surprises? Were you expecting him to be here this long?
We knew that he'd be here for a period of time, but to see him take off his coat, sit down in the kitchen, sit back in the chair, relax, and just have a nice conversation was wonderful.
Chef Joe C., can you talk to us for a second? What was it like to break bread and have the President of the United States eat your eggplant parmesan?
It was, once in a lifetime thing, I guess, It's pretty cool. He was a great guy,
What did he say to you?
He just, he loved the shrimp, he loved the veal, the eggplant parmesan. He was a really down-to-earth guy. He sat down, like the chief said. Everything was formal. We were just like hanging out with the rest of the guys in the firehouse.
Yeah, usually the brothers have to pay for their own meal.
He looked like he liked everything. He seemed like he liked everything,
Sir, did you have anything that you wanted to say to him? This firehouse has suffered a lot.
No, we thank him just for the recognition. Coming by was really a spectacular thing. He came genuinely. He thanked us all. We just wanted to tell him we thank him for what he did on Sunday and all the troops and all. We want to let them know that we're with them, every step of the way. And God bless them. Thank them. If it wasn't for them, we'd still be chasing this guy.
Is the burden a little easier today? Is the burden a little easier?
Yeah, it's bittersweet. A lot of emotions come up, but
What was your
thank
favorite
God.
moment?
This whole thing is great. It's just great.
Usually the firefighters have to pay for their own meals. Does this mean you guys actually took the president to lunch today?
That's right, and we were all invited to the White House for lunch.
Did he say that he extended an invitation?
No, that's just kidding.
Were you on duty on 9/11?
Your full name?
Joe Cerebolo.
You're a firefighter?
Yeah, firefighter.
Joe, are you going back to
not forgetting?
Joe,
What did the president say about not forgetting? Some of these right here. Did he?
the president said
As far as not forgetting, the president made it very clear that the firefighters, first responders have the administration support. They won't forget us. They know the job we're doing day in, day out. There was a lot of links to the job the military are doing day in, day out. So he made it very clear that he supports and his administration supports the firefighters.
Ed, did you know it was a long time coming for the president to come and say such remarks to firefighters in the city?
I think the administration has always demonstrated support for firefighters. I think because of the week's events, I think it was very appropriate for him to come. And listen, they picked the site, they picked the visit. We didn't, they decided this is the appropriate thing to do down in the White House, and they pulled it off and did it.
Chief, even with the killing of Osama bin Laden, this house and this city and the country faces threats. This was the first house to respond to the Times Square bomber ban. What are your thoughts today going forward, even though we've had the killing of Osama bin Laden, but what first responders like you and those across the country still face?
The reason that that the first responders, the firefighters, and the police officers were able to figure out what was going on Times Square was because of the preparedness and training that's been ongoing since September 11th. We're not going to stop that. We're going to continue all of our training, all of our preparedness. We'll continue to maintain a relationship with Homeland Security, and we'll just keep our heads up and our eyes open for anything going on. That won't stop, and just as the military is doing their role overseas, we're going to do our role here right in town.
Did he say anything about the attack on Osama bin Laden with you all?
He did talk about it, and he talked a little bit about what things were like in their strategy room there, but I think it was somewhat confidential, and he just said that it was a tense moment for everybody in that room. There was some very tense moments as far as the helicopter situation was, but he was very relieved and very happy, as well as his administration, that everything worked out.
From your point of view, it was 10 years from the promise made on the pile to the fulfillment of that promise this past week, this past Monday. I mean, what did that feel like, finally seeing the promise fulfilled?
I think we have to thank President Bush and President Obama for sticking it out, for always staying focused. I know that President Obama said we're going to get him. Took a long time, took a lot of preparation, but they got him. So I think that 10 years, 1 year, 2 year, 10 years, it's done. I think it's wonderful that it's done before the 10th anniversary, so maybe the families might be slightly relieved leading up to the 10th anniversary, but it's important. It's done, and now everybody's got a job to move forward.
Is the burden a little lighter today?
President Bush on this?
The burden for the families, I believe, from the families that I've talked to, is a little bit lighter. Justice is probably the correct word, certainly not closure. So I think the burden is a little bit lighter, but this is an ongoing thing, and we've got almost 3,000 families with a hole in their heart. So we can never say that justice and comfort is completely there.
What did the firehouse go through on 9/11?
The president and how it made you feel to hear the words of thanks on behalf of the entire department that lost so much that day?
I don't think the president could have been clearer or more sincere with what he said, which was most pleasing to us. He was as clear as he could be and as pleasant as could be over it. I think that...
All right, so I just want to break away briefly. The president has just arrived at the first precinct in Lower Manhattan, NYPD. There he is on the screen. You see him walking inside. He's going to meet with New York City police officers, meet with Port Authority officers as well. You saw Rudy Giuliani still with the president, joining him on this very special day. The president first visiting the fire station, the firehouse, now going to the Lower Manhattan First Precinct for NYPD. He wants to pay his respects to all of those first responders, the firefighters, the police officers, the Port Authority workers, others who were so involved in saving lives as best as they could almost 10 years ago on 9/11. Very emotional comments from the fire chief, Edward Kilduff, in New York.